Hello everybody, my name is Memo. This is my channel, FancyMemo. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to this week where I talk about the best and worst music released this year in 2024. Yesterday, I dropped my video on the worst singles of the year, the worst tracks of the year. Today, I'll be talking about the worst albums of the year. As I said yesterday, this year has been amazing. There's been a lot of great music released this year. It was hard making my top 50 songs list, my top 50 albums list. With that said though, there was a lot of dookie garbage as well, as I talked about yesterday with some of the worst songs of the year. But there was so much bad albums that this year, for the very first time and hopefully for the only time, I am extending my list. Instead of 10 of the worst albums of the year, I'm extending it to my top 15 worst albums of 2024, because if I had to go through all these albums, might as well talk some shit about them in a video. I put in a lot of energy to listen to these albums, might as well at least talk about them. So that's what I'm gonna do here. But before I do, if you like music related content like this, please subscribe, since that is what I do here. And if you're already subscribed and you want more of this for some reason, check out my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you like basketball, more specifically NBA basketball, I have a basketball podcast. It's called Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. Check it out if you're interested. But yeah, let's jump into this. Why not? Number 15, just sneaking in here. I'm already gonna get a lot of hate for this. It's Taylor Swift with the Tortured Poets Department. I know there's like this, what is it, anthology thing, like a side B or a deluxe album to this. I don't know what it is, but I didn't even bother to listen to that. The Tortured Poets Department was awful enough. This is such a drag to go through. It's a long ass album to begin with, a super long album. At least it felt super long. It was over like an hour long for sure, so it's not like a 2-hour long album, but it felt like it. It really did. It felt like a chore to go through this, especially since every single track here basically sounds like each other. Like, not even the features here help differentiate some of these tracks. I kind of forgot there was features while listening to the actual features, because they provide such a minimal role on each track that they're a part of. It's really Taylor Swift being shoved down your throat over and over and over and over again with some of the most boring, lackluster, bland instrumentals I've heard in an album this year. And what's probably the worst part about this album is the writing. Like, Taylor Swift is a proud songwriter. She is very proud of her songwriting abilities, which I do not understand after this album, because there's some cringy and weird lines on this album. You wouldn't last an hour in the asylum where they raised me. Come on. Come on. Who's afraid of little old me? You should be. This is so stupid. It gets worse. And my friends all smell like weed or little babies. Weed or little babies. Those are two different smells, I believe. Like, we declared Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist, as if Charlie Puth isn't already a big artist. Okay. This one's good. You know how to ball? I know Aristotle. Brand new, Full Throttle, Touch Me While Your Bros Play Grand Theft Auto. This is Taylor Swift saying this. Come on, dude. We got Taylor Swift saying Grand Theft Auto in a song before we got the Grand Theft Auto 6. That's crazy. That's so weird. This one's awful. My friends used to play a game where we would pick a decade we wish we could live in instead of this. I'd say the 1830s, but without all the races. Come on. Speaking of races, the Swifties out there, this is the album you're defending. This is the album you're willing to be racist about defending over the Tortured Poets Department. Come on, dude. This is the album where you bought like 30 different versions of this because it comes with a nice little demo or comes in a different vinyl variant. Are we serious? We're doing all this. We're being racist. We're getting into debt all over this boring ass, polluting ass billionaire? Nah, you guys are doing too much. This is crazy. This is. So that's my number 15. Number 14. I'm sad to report, but Kanye West, former favorite artist, no longer is the case, is now on the list, now in the worst albums list for the first time with Vultures 2. It's him and Ty Dolla $ign with Vultures 2, an album that does deserve the hate it gets. You know, it's poorly written, there is some possible AI involved. Ty Dolla $ign doesn't really do anything to save this project, with Kanye rambling and doing some of the worst rapping in his career, with some of the worst lines in his career, with some of his worst singing in his career. Vultures 2 is an awful project. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sure a lot of you guys are surprised that it's this low on the list. And the reason why it's this low on the list is because it's still somewhat listenable. Like, especially the first quarter or maybe even half of this album. There's some listenable songs. I'm not saying they're good songs. I'm not saying I go back to them, but this album is filled with listenable songs. I can't say the same for number 13, which is, again, Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign, but this time with Vultures 1. I really don't understand why people liked Vultures 1 more than Vultures 2. Because, yeah, Vultures 2 might sound unfinished, and that's very much the case since, you know, they're constantly updating the track list. Like, I didn't know, what's his name, Miles? I didn't know he's on Bomb Now until like a few weeks ago. He wasn't there originally, but now we got a Miles feature on a Kanye West album with Northwest on the track. That's crazy. But back on track, Vultures 2 sounds unfinished. I get that. What's the excuse for Vultures 1? Vultures 1 sounds like a more finished project. Yeah, it's just as bad. I'd argue worse. With worse tracks like Hood Rat. I can't listen to Hood Rat. Hood Rat is the worst beat I heard Kanye over. Hood Rat, Hood Rat, Hood Rat. There's so many tracks here that are far more memorable than the tracks on Vultures 2, but for the worst reasons. Some of the worst Kanye songs I've heard in my life. And you could argue that there's higher highs on this album, but the lows are so much lower. And let's not forget, on Vultures 1, he is showing his like anti-Semite side of him on this track list. There's several times here where he's kind of just brushing off the anti-Semite allegations and just bringing up some stereotypical lines. Did we forget about that? Did we forget that Kanye is acting like a Nazi on some of these tracks? And we're saying that Vultures 1 is still better than Vultures 2? Nah. I'm not with that. Vultures 2, as horrible as it is, I at least don't remember Kanye being a bigot. He might be, if my memory is not working. He might be, but Vultures 1 is very apparent that he's being a hateful bigot on some of these tracks, with some of the lines that completely ruin some otherwise decent tracks here. So that's why I can't support this. Like, this is not only a bad listen, but he's also showing off his hateful side of him, which he hasn't done, even though he's been pretty bigoted. I've never liked his politics as of late, but you know, I always believed in separating the art from the artist, but in Vultures 1 he combined the two, and I can't support that. I'm a man of my word. I can't support bigotry on music, even if it came from one of the artists I cared about the most for the longest time. So Vultures 1 is taking my number 13 spot. At number 12, we've got J. Cole with Might Delete Later. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be pissed off about this decision, but I don't understand the hype around this album. I don't understand the hype around J. Cole in general. Call me a hater if you want. I'll accept that label with grace. I love hating. But, you know, I'll call a spade a spade. When J. Cole's sounding great, I'll say that. I'll admit that. But he is not sounding great on this album. For the most part, a lot of these tracks are boring. Boring as hell to listen to, which is a common theme behind J. Cole tracks. It's just boring. The production here is bland. J. Cole has some decent lines and some horrible lines as well. We've got some transphobic lines from J. Cole. We've got that cringy ass ABC what's an L line from J. Cole. The album starts off with a Rick and Morty bar. Like, come on. You're J. Cole. You're supposed to be part of the big three, you know, a legend at this point. And we're talking about Rick and Morty in 2024. His rapping is cringy at times. The beats are boring. Several of the features here did better than J. Cole. I believe it was Fever, where J. Cole was singing horribly on it. From track to track to track, there was things that I didn't like about basically every track here. There's something I don't like about it, but you know, it's towards the end of the track list where we got 7 Minute Drill, which I know is technically not part of the album anymore. It's no longer, or mixtape anymore. It's no longer part of the mixtape. But you can't tell me I can't put 7 Minute Drill in consideration while listening to this project. A project called Might Delete Later. You can't tell me 7 Minute Drill didn't leave a skid mark on this album. An album called Might Delete Later, where in this very track list, he very much deleted a track later. He deleted 7 Minute Drill, one of the worst diss tracks I've ever heard in my life. You can't tell me to just ignore that. How can I ignore the track he deleted later on a track list that's called Might Delete Later? You can't. You can't tell me that. It left a skid mark on this album. It left a hefty shit stain on this album. So yeah, not a fan of this. This is an awful mixtape. The Fall Off better be 10 times better than this album, because right now it's not looking good for Jermaine. It really isn't. Moving on, number 11, we've got Lil Uzi Vert with Eternal Atake 2. I guess one of my hotter takes is that I never liked Eternal Atake. I just never gravitated towards that album. Yet it's still a lot better than Eternal Atake 2. At least it was trying to go for this like space theme and had some interesting beats and some nice little skits. On Eternal Atake 2, Uzi didn't care at all. You could tell. He did not care to make this a sequel. There's nothing in regards to space on this album. No space theme whatsoever. No skits. It's just boring Uzi track after boring Uzi track after boring Uzi track after boring Uzi track. Ooh, this track might have a Big Time Rush feature. No, it's just Big Time Rush introducing the track, and that continues to be another boring Uzi track. And then after that, it's another boring Uzi track and another boring Uzi track. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't want to hear about Uzi's Nas addiction. I really don't. I don't care. I don't like his music. And in Eternal Take 2, he's like trying to make sure that not only I don't like his music, but his fans don't like his music anymore. I heard that this was just his way of getting out of some contract. He just needed to release one more track, but that's disrespectful towards your fans. It really is. Like, this is what you want to get to your fans. I know at Uzi's best, he could be one of the most creative trap artists right now, but he hasn't been in his best form in years. So yeah, new Uzi album. But yeah, that's 11. Now it's time to go into my top 10 worst albums of the year, starting with Eminem with the death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grâce. This shit's for boomers. It really is. It's for boomers who are afraid of cancel culture, who is afraid of the woke, making up these made-up boogeymen to be afraid of. This is what this album's for. Either that or, some like edgy middle schooler that's too cool for school. That's what this album's for. It's not for educated, grown men and women. It's not. Because on this track list, it's Eminem trying desperately to offend the listener for like most of the album, just so Eminem could kill Slim Shady in a track. And after that, Eminem has more bearable songs to listen to after that, but does not fit the narrative that's going on whatsoever. Like, why do we have to go through so much bullshit in order for you to finally kill Slim Shady, and then we get to hear more bullshit, just less offensive bullshit? What kind of album concept is that? And it's not like I'm some Eminem hater. Eminem got me into hip-hop. He will always have a special place in my heart. There's tracks and albums that I would defend from Eminem that was released as of late, but I can't defend this. This is awful. He's trying too hard to be offensive. He's trying too hard. Just consistently going at Caitlyn Jenner, which, fuck Caitlyn Jenner, but it's kind of weird you keep going at her for being trans when there's other things you could go at her for. Also going after Lizzo and going after, just targeting the same people for several tracks here. Other than Fuel with Jid, there's really nothing redeeming coming out of this album. And it's a shame because, I like the rollout. I like the album cover, even though a lot of people don't. I do like the album cover. I like even the concept of killing off your more offensive past self and trying to evolve from that. There's like a good idea in there. It was executed in the worst possible way. It's a very cringy album, hard to listen to for many reasons, and it had potential. It really did. Like, Eminem's rapping at points sounded like the best rapping he's done in years. It's just the lyrics that are awful. It really is. That makes this album so unbearable. So yeah, that's my number 10. Number 9, it's Meghan Trainor with Timeless. I don't even know what to say at this point. It's Meghan Trainor refusing to evolve as an artist, refusing to change her ways, and makes the same like tracks but in like a different font for an entire like album. When I say she hasn't changed at all, she truly has not changed. Like, if you heard one Meghan Trainor song, you've heard them all, honestly. There's some cringy swing tracks here, some very overly serious tracks that like it's hard to take seriously. The singing is really never good. She's not like a spectacular singer whatsoever. A lot of these song ideas are just uninspired. It's a very bland album, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. Some of the tracks here involved swing music, which is an already gentrified genre, and she's trying desperately to gentrify it even more on this track list. It's genuinely a hard listen, but somehow not as hard of a listen as the next album, which is number 8, 143 by Katy Perry. What's going on, Katy? Why you gotta do this to me? I used to be a Katy Perry fan, fun fact, when I was like first discovering music, when I had to buy music off of iTunes and put it in my little iPod. I noticed that she was topping the charts back then, so I was like, why not listen to her? And she had bangers. You can't tell me that Katy Perry did not have bangers with Hot and Cold, with California Girl. That's how I discovered Snoop Dogg, is through California Girl. So I always liked Katy Perry, but this track list here is crazy. We start off the track with Woman, which is a very ironic track. You know, it's about supporting women and how strong women are, how fierce women are. This track has great intentions behind it, but it's very ironic that you're doing this track in support of women while working with Dr. Luke, known nasty man, a known predator towards women. He's been accused of sexually, physically, verbally, and emotionally abusing women, and you got him working on this album with a track called Woman that is supposed to be in support of women. Get out of here. That's super ironic. And what's even worse about that is that after listening to Woman, the very next track, it gets worse. It just keeps getting worse and worse. The production here is some of the worst production I've ever heard on any pop album in my life. No over exaggeration here. I never do that. Wink. But yeah, Gimme Gimme with 21 Savage. God, that's the worst beat 21 Savage has rapped over. I hope he got a bag on that track. I hope Jid got a bag on his track. I hope Doechii did as well. There's several features here that couldn't even save the track they were on. It's just awful beat after awful beat. Awful performance after awful performance. All for what? What did Katy Perry gain off of this album other than disappointing her fans? Disappointing music nerds like me. What are we doing? So yeah, that's my number 8. Now let's go to number 7. It's Blackballed by 6ix9ine. The shortest album here, yet it's still a waste of time. At 19 minutes, you could do a lot more productive things in your life in 19 minutes. You don't need to listen to this album. It's called Blackballed, so in theory, you know, it could be a little interesting hearing 6ix9ine's perspective on why he believes he's like blackballed from the rap world. But instead, we get him either like doubling down on why he's the most annoying rapper in the world, talking about just like flexing and being annoying on each track. We get that, or we don't even hear 6ix9ine for most of the track because he has his features carrying the tracks. And in this album, there really is no direction whatsoever. We get some like aggressive rap tracks, and then we get this more danceable hip hop track, and then we get some like Latin track. It bounces around a lot. Like, it's hard to keep up with. Like, you don't know what to expect while listening to this album. So yeah, really don't have much to say. 6ix9ine just really sounded like he didn't care. He didn't try at all. Just threw everything at the wall and tried to see what stick, but nothing sticked. Nothing sticked at all. None of these tracks are worth a listen. Shout out to the features on this album because they definitely carried. But yeah, 6ix9ine dropped some dookie this year, that's for sure. Alright, number 6, we've got Ian with Valedictorian. And I don't really have much to say on this. This is a gentrified version of Atlanta hip hop. If you want to listen to Future, but like 10,000 times worse, listen to Ian, because that's basically what he provides. He provides a worse version of your favorite Atlanta rapper on each track. Does not do anything to enhance the genre, does not do anything to forge his own sound, forge his own voice. Doesn't really try even. It's just white guy that looks very suburban, raps like black artists. That's it. That's the album. And that's definitely the goal of this album. If you look at the album cover, you could clearly tell that that's what he was going for. He's going off of the gimmick of, ooh, this super suburban white kid is rapping like Future. Oh, how unique. Oh. When in reality, it's gentrification at its finest. You really can't argue any good qualities coming off of Ian's music. And I'll leave it there. Top 5 time! Top 5! We've got a sad one to start off the top 5 because we've got my queen, Ice Spice. She's unfortunately in the top 5 at number 5 with Y2K. The queen herself. Why? In all seriousness, yeah, this was an awful listen. A disappointing listen, honestly. Like, I know a lot of people don't expect much from Ice Spice, and I wasn't expecting Illmatic. I was expecting a little better than this. I was expecting a little more fun. A fun little project. A fun little project for the girlies, you know? But no, this was a hard listen. It really seems like Ice Spice is still learning how to rap on a lot of these tracks. She sounds so amateur on a lot of these tracks. Her writing, although for some reason she's very proud of, it's not great. It's not good at all. Like, there's so many poop lines on this album. What the hell? She talks about poopy a lot. She talks about it on like several of these tracks. It's not like a one-time thing. She talks about poop a lot on this track list. Don't understand why, but now it's like a thing. Now it's a thing that Ice Spice talks about poop. She likes poop. It's a thing now. Look what you've done to yourself. But yeah, a lot of poop lines here, a lot of amateur lines here, a lot of boring beats as well. I did like the beat off of the one track with Central C. That was a nice beat, but other than that, a lot of boring ass production. The features phoned it in like Central C, like Gunna, like Travis Scott. And yeah, like, I did like the track. You thought it was a shit, that track, but you're not even a fart. That track actually goes kind of hard, but again, another shit line. What are we doing? What are we doing, Ice Spice? Come on. So yeah, we've got a baddie dropping bad music. What? No. It's like, come on. Like, I'm sorry, Ice Spice. You'll forever be my queen. I bought your skin on Fortnite. I'm a big fan of many aspects of your work. Just not a big fan of Y2K. This is a bad album, in my opinion. I'll leave it there. Number 4, we got Lil Dicky with Penith, which is supposed to be, I believe, a soundtrack to his show Dave, I believe it's called. I've never checked out the show, so, you know, maybe there's things I don't get off of this album because it's supposed to go with the show. I don't know how closely related the two are. I will just say that I'm not a fan of his music, so I will not dare to watch his show because I barely want to listen to his music. His music is unbearable, honestly. We got him talking about his little penis several times here. There's some corny lines, some very cringe lines, some stories that we don't want to listen to. And you know, this guy, he could drop a good punchline here and there. He could write a beat at times, but he can't make a good song. He can't. He can't make a good album. He can't make a good song, honestly. Especially when he gets into his singing bag. Some of the melodic tracks here are hard to listen to. Just don't understand his appeal at all. You go through this album, you go through so much bullshit just to get to the end where Lil Dicky's like, hey, I know I'm immature, I know I'm so childish, I act like a 12-year-old, but I just need someone in my life to change me. I just need that woman to change me. You're a grown man. Change yourself. God damn, grow up a little. Why are you putting this on someone else? You are a grown man. The only person that can change you is you. God damn. If you're tired of acting like a 12-year-old, then stop. That's the beautiful thing with this country. We have the freedom to do whatever we want to do with our lives. And you're here choosing to act like a 12-year-old? Come on. Come on. Let's move on to number 3, which is Lil Mabu with Young Genius. This has been a crazy year for white rappers. Wow, we got Eminem, we got Ian, we got Lil Dicky. Now we got Lil Mabu, who I would say is another gentrifier of the genre. You know, he's desperately trying to sound like 6ix9ine of all rappers to try to sound like. He's desperately trying to sound like 6ix9ine on a lot of these tracks, trying to be ultra aggressive on a lot of these tracks, even though he's clearly like not about that life. And that's part of the marketing as well. He's similar to Ian, whereas white suburban kid doing rap music, it's the same thing here, but just 10 times worse. It's white suburban kid acting like he grew up in the streets, acting like he killed somebody. But when you look at him, clearly has never done anything significant in his life. Just by looking at it, he looks like he has 2 loving parents. He looks like he lives in a 2-story home with mommy and daddy. You know, he doesn't sound like he's about that life, which is probably the annoying part about this. And it's Lil Mabu trying to cosplay as someone that actually had to struggle in life. This is just a very unlikable album. Some very elementary bars on here. Some cringy moments, like when he was rapping with, I forgot her name, is it Christian Rock? Something like that. And like dissing Blueface. I don't care about that. Why are we doing that? When he's like rapping with a child about like murder or whatever. What are we doing here? Is this what the kids like these days? Lil Mabu? Is that what they like? God, if that's the case, we're screwed. This country's screwed, bro. Moving on to another white rapper. We've got MGK and Trippie Redd with Genre Sadboy. Now, this isn't necessarily a rap album. It's an emo album. It's like an emo rock kind of rap hybrid. I don't know how to label it genre-wise. I just know how to label it as dog shit. This is just dog shit. Dog shit, the album. That's what this is. We got Trippie Redd, MGK trying to sing together with no vocal chemistry. MGK is one of the worst singers I've heard in my life. He's so bad, he makes Trippie Redd sound like Prince, honestly. He sounds like Freddie Mercury in comparison to MGK. The singing here is awful. This album just sounds super fake. You can't tell me 2 millionaires are emo. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me they're genuinely depressed, that they're actual sad boys who had it tough growing up, who have such sad lives. You can't tell me that. Like, isn't MGK dating Megan Fox or something? You can't tell me you're a sad boy when that's your life, you know? This just sounds performative. It sounds like they're trying to cosplay as a couple of sad boys, when really they're sad in a different way. They're sad as in they're pathetic. They're pathetic because they make pathetic music for pathetic people. That's why. That's why they're a couple of sad boys. Because there's nothing of note. There's nothing interesting about this. It's like they're trying to copy Lil Peep, but be like 10 times worse on purpose. And yeah, there's just a lot of songs here that's like about suicide and stuff like that, but comes off as very fake, you know? It doesn't seem genuine at all, when these are actual issues that people are going with. People are dealing with mental health issues. They are dealing with depression. They are dealing with real issues. They are dealing with suicidal thoughts. And you guys are making this as if it's like cool to have suicidal thoughts. It's part of your lifestyle to have these deep, sad thoughts in your messed up head, when really this is actually something people deal with, and you're making it part of your little cosplay, part of your playtime. Trippie Redd and MGK playtime together. Yay, let's pretend to be sad. Let's pretend to be sad on an album. God damn it, dude. Like this is pathetic. It's pathetic. And it's still somehow not the worst album of the year. The worst album of the year is actually coming kind of from another white rapper. My number 1 worst album of the year goes to Falling in Reverse with Popular Monster. What's this guy's name? I forgot his name. Falling in Reverse. reverse. Ronnie Radke. So we got Ronnie Radke, MGK, Lil Mabu, Lil Dicky, Ian, and Eminem, and half of J. Cole. So we got 6.5 white rappers on this list. Damn, out of 15, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, Popular Monster by Falling in Reverse not only is the worst album of the year, it's one of the worst albums I've heard in my life. I genuinely would give this a 0 out of 10 because of how awful it is to listen to this album. I talked about Falling in Reverse last year because they were my worst song of the year last year. I forgot what was the name of the song, but how I described that song is the same way I would describe this entire album. This album, this band, Ronnie Radke, is like the epitome of everything bad about 21 Pilots, Panic at the Disco, Eminem. If you combine all that together, add some teenage angst, some middle school edginess, and just add in some like random bullshit as well, you get Popular Monster. That's what you get. It's just such a hard listen with like Ronnie Radke trying to rap on some tracks, or him screaming his brains out for like no reason, whining and bitching about how everybody hates him, and then talks about reasons why people hate him and trying to come off as cool because of that. Like, pick a lane. There was this moment here too, I think it was one of the features on Ronald, who was rapping like SpongeBob. Like, this album sounds like a joke. It does. But you could tell that they were trying to be serious with this album. They were trying to make good music, but it simply is not. It's just some of the worst music I've heard in my life. It's hard to stomach, honestly. It really is. Nothing redeeming coming out of this album. Do not listen to this album. Do not give it your time. You'd be more productive watching paint dry than listening to this album. It's cringy. It's a mess. Horrible features, horrible instrumentals, horrible singing, horrible screaming, horrible rapping, horrible songs. It's a horrible album. Do not listen to it. I'm doing you a favor. Please take these warnings seriously. Do not listen to Popular Monster. It's not worth your time. But yeah, that's it. That's all 15 tracks I am gonna be talking about today. Those are the 15 worst albums of 2024. Let me know your thoughts down below, but I am done here. So thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, it makes sense, right? Comment down below, what's the worst album of the year in your opinion? Is it Popular Monster by Falling in Reverse? That sure is my answer. Let me know your answer down below. If you like music related content like this, please subscribe, since that is what I do here. And if you're already subscribed and you want more of this for some reason, check out my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you like basketball, more specifically NBA basketball, I have a basketball podcast called Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. Check it out if you're interested, but I am done here. So thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Goodbye. There we go.